All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the second regular board meeting for the month of December for the Todd County Board of Commissioners. Today's date is Tuesday, December 20th, 2022. Time is 9 a.m. All commissioners are present, along with the auditor treasurer, county coordinator, and county attorney. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Amendments to the agenda.
I have none, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any commissioners? Hearing none, looking for a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kneisel. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Consent items.
Today we have the meeting minute approval for December 9th, 2022, a 3.2 malt liquor license for Dave and Don Store, gambling permit Midwest Outdoor Unlimited Prairie Partners, a gambling permit for Sac Valley Gobblers, a gambling permit for Staples Sportsman's Club, and approve the 2023 tobacco licenses listed in the attached agenda resolution.
Okay, you've seen the items for the consent items as presented. Looking for a motion.
So move with, can we just, did you hear where that
I-
one was? If it was,
I have a message out for them to contact HHS to give us the
Okay.
name of the party and location
of the,
of the
of that
applicant
one.
of the one in Bertha you're questioning.
Yeah, so should we just make a motion for approval, or how should we handle that?
Gary, do you know where that one's at?
Clarification.
No, I don't know what
That Partridge
No, I don't know.
Creek.
That's up to you, or we
Want
can
to make a
approve
motion
them.
with clarification or something?
That sounds, why don't we do that? We'll make a motion to approve with clarification for that.
Okay.
For location, I think,
For
more than
location.
anything, yeah.
Exactly right, yep.
Can add that.
Just that there's not an error or something like that or whatever, but,
Right.
yep. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Kneisel. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. University of Minnesota Extension.
So, Mr. Chair, we have Suzanne Hinrichs and Jan Durkowski attending via Zoom, so you should see them on the screen.
Very good.
Good morning.
Good morning, welcome.
Commissioners. Thank you. Thank you for having us this way. Appreciate the technology that allows us to be there like we're in the room. So thank you very much for having us. A few years ago, the county board invited the extension office to give occasional but regular reports to you on the various activities that we're doing. Earlier this year, you heard from Brenda with the ag educator or the livestock education in the county. And then in April or May, I think it was, that we had Elizabeth with her SNAP Ed health, nutrition, and community efforts. So today we have 4-H joining us, 4-H Youth Development, and I have Jan Durdowski with me. She is, Jan has been with 4-H, working with 4-H for a long time, but she recently took a new position. She is the program leader for the Northeast region. And we know that Todd County, even though you are the center of the state, you fit for us in the Northeast region. So Jan is going to give us a bit of a 4-H update. So Jan, I'll turn it over to you. And Jan, are you okay with questions along the way?
Absolutely.
Okay,
So
wonderful.
thank you for having Suzanne and I join this way. We appreciate it on this cold morning. So as Suzanne mentioned, I've been with Extension for a number of years. I think this is midway through my 23rd year. I've worked primarily with the counties in the northern part of our region as a supervisor. And then as she said this spring, I accepted a role as the program leader. And so it has broadened my reach, which is exciting. So we'll move through this presentation. And as Suzanne said, feel free to to stop me and ask questions along the way. So with this, Suzanne, I think you were going to introduce this slide, maybe?
Oh, sure. And I want to say too, Jan, that Jan is here. She would have normally been here for this presentation, but we're missing a key factor, and that's Alyssa, who has resigned her 4-H educator position. So we just really wanted to, I have this slide in here as a placeholder for us, Jan, so I think we can just go on to the next slide.
Perfect. Okay. And so our vision for Minnesota youth is that we want young people who are thriving in their happiness, they're successful, and they're connecting to others and to the larger world around them. And so if you want to move on to the next slide. Center for Youth Development, our goals are that young people are going to learn by developing a passion in their area of interest, and that youth are going to lead by being innovative and so positive change agents within their community, and that we also recognize that we work very closely with our adult volunteers throughout any aspect of our program, and we want to make sure that they create high quality, culturally responsive learning environments so that those young people can achieve the first two goals of our center. So if you move on to the next one. And so as we are coming out of the pandemic, 2021 and 22 was really our building year, rebuilding, making those connections, coming back together again in person, which was so exciting for the young people and for our staff as well. As we look ahead, 2023, 22 and 23, our program year starts in October. We really want to focus on growth and expanding our reach, doing that through the lens of quality, and also making sure that we are paying attention to diversity, equity, inclusion, and access for all young people in all the counties that we serve. So if you move forward to the next slide. In addition to the goals that you just heard about, our Learn and Lead goals, the things that we are specifically focusing on as we transition to a new program year is that we're going to make sure that we have functioning enrollment systems. And what I mean by that is if young people express an interest, we want to make sure that our local staff connects with those families early on and guides them through the enrollment process and then their first year. And so following that, first year members have a fantastic experience and choose to re-enroll. We know that if 4-Hers join and they enroll in that second year, the likelihood of them staying with us throughout their grade school and high school years increases dramatically. So we really want to ensure that they have a great start with us. We're also learning that we are seeing our Cloverbud program, which is our K through second grade program, just expand exponentially. And so we're focusing on those littles and making sure that when they finish their Cloverbud experience, that we have programs to engage them and keep them into their upper elementary and high school age years. And then with that, also ensuring that our older youth have an opportunity to explore their own area of interest. Oftentimes, we see older youth being involved in like our state ambassador programs or our county ambassador programs where they're really in a leadership role, but we also want to make sure that they have an opportunity to explore things that they are interested in as well. So if you move to the next slide. And so you all probably see our local educator more often than anybody else connected to our program. But we want you to understand that behind those local educators, there's a team of regional educators that work to support our local educators. And here's the specific function areas that we focus on. STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Sometimes folks like to add the A for arts as well in that category. Civic engagement and leadership. Volunteer systems, really focusing on the work that we do with our adult partners and leaders. And then our animal science team, which I know County Fair and the animal science program is important in Todd County. And so there is a regional educator in every one of these categories that supports that local educator. So when you think about the package that you purchase, yes, you most certainly get a local educator to do all the programmatic pieces, but you also gain staff in these areas as well. So if you move on to the next. And so STEM, we think about our environmental sciences. We have an engineering design program that is offered throughout the state. And then most recently, in the pandemic, an agronomy program emerged. And there's lots of innovative things happening there as well. So if you move on to the next. And so some examples of where STEM programming really comes to life in this county is our partnership with Long Prairie and that 21st Century Grant. And so we run programs throughout the year, including the summer, where we offer STEM-based activities for young people and do that in partnership with the school district there. So if you move on to the next slide. Civic engagement and leadership. And so our charge here is to reach middle school and high school age youth statewide through innovative program models that engage youth as change agents. And what we mean by that is for them to really think about how they can impact their community. What is important to them? What issues might they see in their local communities that they want to address? And then provide them opportunities to explore and to challenge themselves to think about how they can implement change. So if you want to move on to the next slide. This is an example of our leadership tree. And so while we acknowledge we have very specific programming for those older youth, we think about leadership development from the very beginning. When those young clover buds join 4-H, there's opportunities to explore leadership in ways that they can be involved. We think about emerging leadership, where they're starting to develop their own personal skills and recognizing that they can lead. And then all the way up through exemplary learning leadership. And that's where we see those young people who maybe are doing community service or service learning type projects in communities, where they really are involved in the planning. They're co-partners with their adults. And so I see you transitioning to the next slide, which is great. Go ahead and we can bring that one up. And so here's an example of a young person leading. So Haley, who was the council president, helps out and was instrumental in planning and leading, along with other youth colleagues, a Project Fun Day. So those officers were responsible for preparing the lessons and then delivering and then assisting the young people. And so it's truly an opportunity for them to give back to a program that meant so much to them. If you want to continue to move forward. The other thing we want to do is recognize we could not offer this program alone. We rely heavily on volunteers who assist us in a variety of ways, whether it be, you see pictures here of some Project Fun Days, club meetings, most certainly at our county fair showcase. We have just a bundle of volunteers that assist us in ensuring that young people have a really high quality learning experience. So if you want to move forward to the next one, we really invest in our volunteers. We have role descriptions that guide them. We provide annual training because we really want to create that community of volunteers that are inspired and prepared to deliver those high quality programs. We want to make sure that we are also engaging new and different volunteer roles that attract diverse volunteers and represent the county. We are continually looking for ways to strengthen our resources and welcome those new volunteers, and designing and developing and delivering volunteer learning opportunities. If you want to move on, the next function we're going to talk about is the animal science program. And so, as I mentioned, I know that this is important in your county as it relates to county fair. I think oftentimes folks see the product at the county fair, but this animal science project goes on throughout the year as they're learning and caring for those animals and thinking about the responsibility that is involved every step of the way, and all the preparing that they do prior to getting to the showcase event. And so we want to make sure that this is a youth-centered opportunity. We recognize that there's a competitive element there, but it's really about those young people developing the skills in that content area. We want to make sure that there is educational content and also that we focus on life skill development and career development as well. We use science and technology in all parts of our animal science work. And again, we train our volunteers to ensure that they understand the program and our 4-H policies to ensure safety and involvement for all young people. If you'd move on to the next slide. This is a pretty well-developed function area. Here's an example of how the team of our animal science team supports our local educators. They have specific areas that they are content experts in. And so not only does our Northeast region will be hiring for a new animal science person, but there's a state team depending upon the particular species that our local staff can call upon to help and guide the program development. And so part of this is we call them PDCs, but those very specific committees that support the livestock program. Curriculum development, building additional resources, and then other things like camps and specialty animal science programs also are the responsibility of this team to support the local educator. So you can go ahead and keep moving on to the next slide. And so here's a picture of the young people at the county fair. We are fortunate that we have a really wonderful relationship with the fair board. They are very supportive of us, and it's fun to partner with them and to think about creating these showcases where young people just really enjoy themselves, and they look forward to that all year long. And then if we could move forward as we wrap up here, one of the things that came out of the pandemic was the development of virtual programs. And so our center director encouraged us to not create just a Band-Aid that would get us through the pandemic, but really to build and create programs that would stand the test of time. And so in this region, we continue to offer after school and evening virtual programs. Every Monday through Thursday, there is a series that is offered that young people can join. We are at numbers higher now than in the pandemic. And so what we've learned is for some young people, this really is the 4-H program that they choose to participate in. And so we just have a variety of offerings from being a global citizen, grow science, arts and crafts, you name it, and we get feedback from young people to help us determine which projects they want to explore. And so next slide, if you would. As I mentioned, we're really focusing on those young people, and so we offer once a month, we have a 4-H Cloverbud Project Day. Prior to Alyssa's leave, she was instrumental in making sure that that happened at the local level. And so we've had good participation in that program as well. And then at this point, if you want to move on, I am going to turn it over to Suzanne. She's going to talk a little bit broader in terms of the other opportunities outside of 4-H that Todd County has access to.
Thank you, Jan. That was a really good highlight. And I would think that maybe before we transition, do you just want to give a couple of updates on where we are in the process of hiring for the position?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So Suzanne mentioned that Alyssa was on leave and then has recently resigned. And so while she was on leave, we had a regional team that was supporting the program, and we also had brought in another one of our local educators to work directly with volunteers and get them through the chartering process and ensure that programming was publicized and kept up with all those things. With Alyssa's official resignation, we are in the process. I have a lead. I talked to someone yesterday who I think is going to accept an interim position. So we'll have somebody in there full time. If this particular individual turns me down, I have a second person that just reached out to me today that has expressed some interest. And so I'm hoping by the new year, we'll have somebody in there full-time to get us through. Todd County, as you know, we had a search process going on this last round, and we had a failed search. Unfortunately, the candidate did not accept the position. And so we're in the process of posting, and we'll have interviews starting again with the hope of having someone in place by the end of March. And so all of that is happening behind the scenes. But like I said, I'm hopeful that we'll have someone in there first part of January, full-time again.
Thank you for that update, Jan.
Sure.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say if there's any questions about that, if we can entertain those now, or if you'd rather wait until Suzanne wraps up here.
Yeah, if there are any questions, let's take them for 4-H.
Any questions, anyone? Looks like
I
we
would
can-
just say thank you to Commissioner Becker and other members of the Extension Committee for serving on the search committee for the interviews. Yeah, we did have a failed search. We will make sure that there is programming and coverage happening going forward. Okay, so if there are any more questions, I'll just finish up with our last couple of slides. I just wanted to make sure that you know how important the County Extension Office is. Todd County is really important to the land-grant university system. Cooperative extension happens all across the United States, in fact, in some other countries as well. And it really is an important piece for community residents to be able to get access to the university and the research and education that's happening there. So that is our job at Extension, to extend that knowledge and information out to community residents. And the County Extension Office really serves as that front door of the university for county residents. So we know that county residents are participating in health and nutrition programs. We have quite a few master gardeners in the community. Next slide, please. We also have people participating in other programs that you might not even be aware of. And we have a volunteer program that's called the Aquatic Invasive Species Detectors Program. That's a cooperative program with the Minnesota DNR, where volunteers are trained to spot aquatic invasive species, whether they're plants or animals, bugs, insects, things like that. And then they're reported so that they can be investigated, and quick detection is possible. And then also we have the Master Naturalist program. That's the program where people learn about the biomes across Minnesota, and then they volunteer in their area. They might make bluebird houses for a group, or they might take groups of kids through the woods to kind of explore the forest. So there's lots of different ways people are active with U of M Extension, and I just wanted to highlight these because maybe I haven't talked about before. So yes, that's our presentation. What questions do you have?
I just have one, if I may go back to Jan, and I wanted to ask this, I forgot, but your numbers in 4-H, are they increasing or decreasing? And I guess if it's decreasing, I'm gonna have a concern. I think you said though during the virtual part of it, it's maybe starting to increase a little bit, but, and the other thing I have is for both of you, what can the county board do to support both of you and your programs, and can we do more to support the programs?
So the first one about growth, actually just yesterday we got some of our impact reports from our state evaluator. And actually we are on a steady growth path throughout the state. I'm looking to see if I have some numbers for you here in Todd County. I do track those. In fact, I met with my support today as we do our program plans to ask for county breakdowns. And so I can get that for you and send it. I think we're pretty steady. Through the pandemic, there was a drop across many of our counties in the Northeast. And with the being able to reconnect in person for some families, that just made a huge difference. And especially if we're in an area where technology can be an issue or a struggle. So I can say all of the counties in the Northeast, we're seeing that uptick. In terms of numbers. And you're right, those virtual programs our numbers continue to grow and remain strong. In the Northeast region, the programs that we offer Monday through Thursday after school were at an all-time high this past fall, which honestly kind of surprised us. We thought as we're moving back into gathering in person that we might see some of that drop off, and that has not been the case. So we're going to continue to build out programs both in person and virtually. And so the second part of your question about what you can do to help, anything that this committee can do to help Suzanne and I identify those good applicants within the county or surrounding area would be so helpful. So often we find that when we think about longevity of a hire, if they're connected to the community, not that they have to be a 4-H'er or past 4-H'er, but just really invested in and have strong ties to their local home or community makes a big difference in terms of the impact that they make and their desire to stay connected to the community. So get the word out, and I hope that we're flooded with applicants in this next round. So anything you can do to help us out there would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
I would echo that too, Commissioner Kircher, because the county board has always been extremely supportive of extension, and I appreciate your support. We know it's a challenging hiring situation nowadays, so anything we can do to get the word out. So I'll share after this board meeting the announcement that's recently been put up on the extension webpage, and maybe you can forward it to people that you know who might be interested in. Like Jan said, sometimes graduates of the area, high schools, they're looking to move back, and this is a great job, a great career, a great position to do that with.
Thank you.
And I also just want to say for one more moment, Commissioner Kircher and Commissioner Kneisel, thank you very much for making the time working with you enjoyable. I hope you enjoy your newfound freedom as 2023 comes. I want to also just announce that if I've sent it by email, but I wanted to make sure everyone knows that I am going to be switching roles within U of M Extension. Instead of being your regional director, I'm going to be working with the agriculture business management team. I'll be working as an extension educator, and it'll be Brenda that will be bringing me in to provide some resources in the area of land transition or maybe farm rental rates, other things like that. But then also I will be leading the statewide network on women in agriculture and the leadership of that. So that's something that's been built up the last couple of years, and I'm going to be able to work with that as well. So to all you commissioners in Todd County, thank you very much for everything we've experienced together over the last 10, 11 years. I've appreciated working with Todd County immensely. So thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. You've done a
Suzanne,
great job
can I
too,
jump
and
back on?
Good luck.
For 1 second, I found those numbers, those enrollment numbers, and so if I can share those with you quickly. So if we look at the last 4 years, 2018-19, we had 133 young people. The next program year, which was the pandemic, the heat of the pandemic, we dropped. We went down to 116, which is actually still really pretty good. And then we bounced back up to 138 at the end of our last program year, which would have ended in September. We had 157. So this program is strong and continues to grow. The same trend with our adult volunteer enrollment as well.
Thank you. It's good news.
So you can feel really good about that.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
All right, are we handling the extension or member appointments? Is that being handled Zoom also, or is that being handled by someone here?
Are they there?
are some committee members that we would like to present for reappointment. So that's what the board action is. Every county has an extension committee, and it's a state statute that we provide that committee group. They're advisors to us, and they are advocates for extension programming. So I'll let you take it away for that board action.
The board action we have in front of us is the Todd County Extension Committee member appointment. Like she said, the background, Todd County Extension Committee serves as an advisory board for the U of M. They're requesting the following appointments be made. Commissioner Erickson requests that Ted Gray be reappointed for a 3-year term, 2023 through 2025, automatically renewable through the year of 2031. And Commissioner Newman requests that Jed Fiskness be appointed to a 3-year term of 2023 through 2025, automatically renewable through the year 2031. Recommendations are to adopt these recommendations for reappointment of Ted Gray and Jed Fiskness in the Todd County Extension Committee for a 3-year term, 23 through 25, automatically renewable through the year 2031.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the Todd County Extension Committee member appointments. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Kneisel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion. Happy to see new appointees coming on there. Well, mine's a renew, and is yours a
Mine's
new?
new. Yep.
Yeah, very nice.
Yep.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, County Auditor Treasurer.
Today we have the approving of Commissioner warrants background is sent for review. Recommendation is to approve the Commissioner warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling in the amount of $102,643.75.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the Commissioner warrants for a total of $102,643.75. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Kneisel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion. Hearing none, roll call.
Commissioner Kneisel?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
Next item I have then is the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants. Background is sent for your review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling in the amount of $86,290.88.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the Health and Human Services Commissioner warrants, totaling amount $86,290.88. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion. Hearing none, roll call.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Kneisel?
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher?
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
Next item I have is the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants. Background is sent for your review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling in the amount of $141,901.01.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the Health and Human Services SSIS warrants, totaling amount $141,901.01. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Kneisel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion. Hearing none, roll call.
Commissioner Kneisel?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher?
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
The last item I have then is the HRA per diem. Background is a request has been made by the Todd County Housing and Redevelopment Authority to increase the current per diem rate for the HRA commissioners, which are appointed by the county board, from $50 to $75 per meeting, along with the current IRS mileage rate. This request has been reviewed by the Finance Committee and is included within the 2023 county budget. Your options are to adopt the attached resolution or do not adopt the attached resolution. The recommendation is to adopt the attached resolution for the Todd County Housing and Redevelopment Authority per diem rate beginning January 1, 2023, until otherwise revoked or amended by the county board.
Okay, you've seen the board action and resolution for the Todd County Housing and Redeveloping Authority per diem request for a rate increase.
So moved.
Motion by Kircher. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kneisel. Discussion.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Have we ever gone through the list of committees and per diems and so forth? Is that something that should be brought up at a work session, or?
Well, I have them on file here in case you wanted to
You
see them. Yep. So that's what they currently are, their per diems. And, of course, the HRA just was increased from 50 to 75, so we'll have to update this, but
Okay.
that's where they sit right now.
Is there a county commissioner that sits on that committee? I don't believe is there?
An HR, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah, Commissioner
Okay.
Kneisel and I do.
okay.
Most of the old ladies that are on it.
Yeah. It's, it's not a very exciting meeting. It's,
Well, it gets kinda exciting. One was online and one was on the phone that last meeting. They were, I still gotta find somebody in my district to go on that, so.
Okay.
Any other questions, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Finance Committee.
So moving right along, we have the 2023 county budget. Background, the county board has approved the preliminary levy on September 6, 2022, and has held the truth and taxation hearing on December 12, 2022. The recommendation is for the Todd County Board of Commissioners to approve the following by motion: to approve the attached resolution adopting the 2023 county budget as presented. I believe it's listed here in the resolution, stating what the revenues and expenditures are and what our ending budget totals are.
You've all had a chance to review the resolution and as presented with all the information there. So would look for a motion to adopt the 2023 county budget.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Becker, second by Kneisel. Discussion.
Just would like to thank the Finance Committee, Denise and your crew, for the work that they've done on it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Carried.
The next item that I have is the 2023 county levy. Background, the county board has approved the 2023 preliminary levy on September 6, 2022, and we have held the truth and taxation hearing on December 12th of 2022. And the recommendation is for the Todd County Board of Commissioners to approve the following by motion: to approve the attached resolution to adopt the final levy for 2023 at $18,854,417 less the program aids, therefore certifying the final 2023 local levy at $17,267,54. That's a whole lot of numbers. And it is a budgeted item.
Okay, you've seen the board action and the resolution to certify the 2023 local levy totaling amount $17,260,754. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
By Kneisel. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. County Assessor. Good morning, Chris.
I am here today to present an abatement on behalf of Donald and Terry Emblom. Mr. and Mrs. Emblem had a house fire on November 16th, 2022. We re-inspected the parcel, found that both the house and the garage were destroyed, and because of that, this property will qualify for a local option disaster abatement under Minnesota Statute 273.1233, as well as a local option disaster credit under Minnesota Statute 273.1235. Approval of both options will result in a tax refund for 2022 of $413.17 and a 2022 value reduction of $369,200, which will be applied to his 2023 taxes. Options are to approve the abatement as presented or deny. This is not a budgeted item.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the abatement proposal for parcel number 03-0084300. For a motion.
Have discussion first, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
I just have a question. The reduction of the tax refund, that comes from us, right?
Correct.
And what was the original taxes?
The original tax was, so under this statute, you can have a reduction of the full months that it was burned. So this burned in November, so this would be basically 1/12 of his total tax. I believe I have the total tax, but the number represented is the December amount.
So they're getting a 1 month.
1 month back. Yep.
And so
1 month reduction.
1 month. Well, they're paid in full now.
Right.
So he's basically getting 1 month of his total tax bill returned to him.
Okay.
And then the 2023 taxes will be reduced. His total value prior to the fire was $460,900. Of that value, $369,200 was the house and garage and deck and the things.
So that'll be subtracted from the 400-some-thousand, the 369.
Yep, so his 2023 taxable value will be based off of the difference between those two numbers.
Just a question I have, if the fire took place on the 16th of November, why isn't it prorated for November?
That's the statute. The statute says full months. If it happened on the 2nd of November, we could not abate November.
Really?
Yep.
So your loss really is only 1 month, not actually a month and a half.
Correct.
Any other discussion, questions?
You said that state statute.
Excuse me? Yep, that's the statute. I have the statutes listed on there.
The procedure is state
Yeah.
statute, yes.
What township was this in?
03 is Birchdale.
Any other discussion? Not, I would be looking for a motion.
Well, I'll move, Mr. Chair, but I just think they should get more, so. When you lose
Appreciate
your
that.
house and garage, it's kind of like, okay, from the day it's lost, it's lost.
Motion by Kircher,
I'll second it.
second by Newman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Public Works, good morning, Lauren.
Morning, everyone. Our first item on the agenda this morning for Public Works is a request for approval of a 2027 Area Transportation Improvement Plan for a County Road CASA 11 project. The background is we approve an annual approval to submit an application for an eligible construction project. This would be on County Road 11 to the Region 5 Development Commission for possible inclusion into the Central Minnesota Area Transportation Partnership, also known as ATP, for a 2027 Area Transportation Improvement Plan. So basically, we're looking for approval to submit this application for a 2027 project. And if we could go down to the map, I think that I had included inside this. Basically, it's a mill and overlay project from basically Highway 27 going south, past Little Sauk Lake, past the County Road 2 intersection, and down to Ferry Lake, thus ending at the Stearns County line. This is an inter-county route. County Road 11 goes from the south county line to the north county line. Major traffic for us on this route. Definitely in need of, in this year, definite need of repair as far as the asphalt, the shoulders, and some pipe work. So that's why we are excited to submit this one for an application. We believe that we have a very good chance to receive funding for this project. So with that, our options are to approve the attached resolution or do not, and our recommendation is to approve the attached resolution nominating this project.
Okay, you've seen the board action and the resolution for the nomination of the CASA 11 for the 2027 Area Transportation Improvement Plan. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion.
Yes, Lauren, how come we don't, can we take it further north than what it is? You know, you're only taking it to what, to 27?
Next year, 2023,
Right,
County Road 11 from 27 north up to Clarissa is scheduled to be paved.
okay. But that wouldn't all fit under this plan?
Nope,
mean-
nope, so that one's already in the schedule.
Okay.
And if we get the projects too large as far as dollar values, then we're really not competing very well because there's only a defined amount of money. And if the project gets so large, we can't split the pot amongst the 4 or the 5 counties, and that'll get kind of flushed out.
As far as the work you plan on doing on County Road 11, will it be equal amount as far as, if you go through the Region 5 on the south half of 11 versus us doing the north half? Will it be the same work, same quality of work done?
100% the same quality work.
Okay.
All our projects are designed and approved according to state aid standards. So we use typical standards of specifications to make sure all the quality work is up to the standard.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is approval of MnDOT agency agreement number 1052165. And the background is requesting approval of this agreement, 1052165, known as the Agency Delegated Contracting Process Agreement. If approved, this supersedes the previously approved agreement, which is 1030077, which was originally approved by the Todd County Board of Commissioners on 12/19/2017. As additional information, this agreement is basically an agreement that allows MnDOT to act as the finance agency or sponsor for the county to administer federal projects or federal money. For example, if we were to receive the federal grant for this previously approved County Road 11 project, it would follow this process, and then MnDOT would act as our fiscal sponsor and thus allowing us to do that federal project. This agreement is approved basically by every county in the state, and it's done on a 5-year cycle. Now this one's up after the 5 years, so it's being recommended for approval. Our options are to approve the attached resolution and agreement or do not, and our recommendation is to approve the attached resolution and agreement.
Okay, you've seen the board action and the attached resolution and agreement for the MnDOT agency agreement. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Kneisel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kircher. Discussion.
This is basically like when the cities, you have to do the city, for the cities, and the state does it for you.
Basically, yeah. That's 100% correct.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
All right, our next item for approval is the authorization to purchase a 2024 plow truck. The background is the 2023 road and bridge budget contains funds for the replacement of a Public Works Unit number 22, which is a 2007 Sterling plow truck with approximately currently 216,600 miles. The Public Works Unit 22 is scheduled for replacement in fiscal year 2023 and is included in the current Todd County Public Works Equipment Replacement Plan. Our options are to approve the attached state bid plow truck purchase agreement, which includes the purchase of a new plow truck chassis from Boyer Truck for $139,386, and the snowplow equipment from Towmaster Truck and Equipment for $153,362. The other option is do not approve any equipment purchases at this time, and our recommendation is to approve the purchase of a new equipped plow truck for the attached purchase agreement for a total of $292,748.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the request for purchase of a new plow truck for the total amount $292,748.
Move to approve.
Motion by Kircher. There's a second. There a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Kneisel. Discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, what's the odds of getting this?
Yeah. exactly.
Because we're still waiting on buses at Rainbow Rider from 2020.
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. According to the vendors, if we move forward with this purchase, they are anticipating delivery of this, I looked it up, February of 2024.
But at least we're locked into a price.
We're locked in. We're locked in for the price, and we're locked in their schedule, so when they do get to building them, we're in line. If we choose not to, we go back to the bottom of the list, and then the next time we could get one would be farther down the line.
Because
Late 2024, 2025.
we're at the point at Rainbow Rider, we're out looking for motors, to have motors on hand, because if the motors go bad, we can't get a new motor. So we're going to, either rebuild the motors or whatever, because we can't get buses.
Well,
So,
terrible.
This is really no,
and as long as these guys are gonna lock that price in and keep that price, I don't have a problem with it. But I know on the buses, didn't they say they were gonna jack the price up on them?
I was gonna make that comment, is make sure that you have it so it's locked in, because the buses, they're raising the prices on them now.
our trucks were locked in last year, and due to the extensive increases,
They
they're
went up.
locked in.
Oh, they
I
are.
questioned it, and right from the state bid office, Department of Administration, they're allowed to do that due to the extensive increases they experienced last year because of steel.
Mr. Chair, I also have another question, Lauren. You said it does not include the truck being traded in? I read it somewhere, correct or not?
Nope, this price doesn't include that, but that will be added in later, once they come out to do an
Okay, do you
inspection.
usually trade them in, or do you sell them?
We always
via
trade
auction?
them in, because
You-
we've had very little luck, trying to get them sold around here through an auction process.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
All right, thank you. Our next three items are all very similar, and they're basically year-end budgetary items. The first one is a request for a 2022 budget rollover for a retiree severance account. Included in this is a $77,900 for anticipated retirements this year. Good or bad, those individuals that we thought were going to retire this year did not. So we're requesting that this budget amount be rolled over into the next fiscal year. So our options are to approve or do not approve the attached budget request form, and a recommendation to approve the attached budget request form, rolling over $77,900 to next year.
Okay, you've seen the board action for a 2022 budget rollover request for retiree severance.
So moved.
Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And I forgot to mention in this, I just wanted to thank the auditor's office for reviewing these prior to us bringing them up and helping us to make sure we get them all documented correctly. So with that would be our second item, would be a request to roll over a $23,451.91 in the spraying and budget line item. We contracted with a company to do the spraying for both weeds and brush this year. They were able to accomplish the spraying for weeds, but at the end of the year, due to weather and timing and additional work bought by the contractor, we chose not to move forward late in the year with the brush spraying. So next year, if this is approved, we'd add this additional amount to the contract and do an additional amount of brush spraying on our county road right away. So our recommendation is, our two options are to approve the attached budget request form or do not. And our recommendation is to approve the attached budget request form rolling over $23,451.91.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the 2022 budget rollover request for spraying weeds and brush. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Becker, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kneisel. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
All right, our last item is budget request rollover request to for our capital expenditures line item. And I'll read the background from the actual budget request form. The 2022 Road and Bridge Budget, Fund 3, contained $480,719 in this budget line item for capital expenditures, heavy equipment, for payment for purchase of heavy equipment in the maintenance division. Due to multiple issues with various vendors regarding both the ability to order equipment, which was our 1-ton flatbed truck this year, and the timely delivery of ordered equipment, which is our plow truck that was previously approved, for $316,019 that remains in this account. Therefore, the Public Works Department is requesting to roll over this amount into fiscal year 2023. So it basically goes back to Commissioner Newman, what you're talking about is we can order this equipment, but even if we are allowed to order it, they can't deliver it in the same fiscal year that we've purchased it. So unfortunately, we have to roll that money over to the next fiscal year to cover that expense. It gets kind of difficult both for us to budget and also for them to make sure the money's there. But unfortunately, that's the world we operate in today. So our options are to approve the attached budget request form or not, and our recommendation at this time is to approve the attached budget request form, rolling over $316,019.
Seen the board action for the 2022 budget rollover request for capital expenditures, totaling amount $316,019. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Kircher, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Lauren.
All right, thank you.
Can we take a short break?
Sure.
Thank you.
We'll take a quick 5-minute recess here.
The resolution that we have before you today is our 2023 solid waste budget. Background is the proposed 2023 solid waste budget is for the amount of $2,965,300 in revenue generation and a $3,695,123 in expenses. It has been reviewed with the Solid Waste Committee and is based on revenue generated from our approved fee schedule. See also the attached documentation of what lies in this budget. Options is to approve the 2023 budget or do not approve the 2023 budget.
Mr. Chair, can I
Yep.
ask a question?
Sure, can I have some discussion first?
Yes, it shows a negative budget, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why would we approve a negative budget until we come up with at least a flat budget? I mean,
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Becker, I think this is just showing what those actual expenses are and then comparing the revenues similar to, and Denise, you can kind of help out with this, but other budgets would have similar things. They would have where you have revenues that are coming in, and then you would have your natural expenditures. And I think, Mike, you could speak to maybe even just those fees that are coming in and like your recycling and how those are actually higher than in years past.
Yeah. Right now, our recycling amount has been a big increase from 150,000 last year to 225,000. The big discrepancy in our revenues expenses was the non-budgeted landfill cover. We do not know what that total cost is, and that is somewhere between design and the actual cover. We're estimating between $500,000 and $600,000, and that's really where we're unsure until we get that established, is the difference in our revenue and expenses. We just do not know that amount yet currently.
And keep in mind, Commissioner Becker, this is approving a budget, which is just a forecast. It's just what we're anticipating. They could do really well in revenues that would offset this the other way.
if you're thinking your revenues are up for the recyclables, you know, is it not right to raise that? So it
Well,
would
you
show
don't
a
also
flat
wanna, you
budget?
don't wanna overstate a budget either. Especially with the economic times we're going into, we don't know, it's very unsure. So we don't wanna overstate or understate, it's just a forecast.
Yeah, so do you have, money in savings that if this would be a true budget, that would cover that 729,000 or not? Or where would that money come from?
We were relying on it, hopefully, when that budget or the expenses for the landfill project comes in to the use of ARPA funds. We are currently have an expense item now. There was nothing done prior in the budget for this, and we are including $50,000 of our budget to annually. So when we go to close the next landfill, there is money there. I don't understand the background of why there wasn't anything done prior to this, but that's where that $600,000 discrepancy is. There was never anything budgeted in preparation for closing that old cell.
Mr. Chair, if I may, the SCORE grant, Mike, has that been going down or is that going up?
It's been pretty consistently level.
So it's always been around 70,000, more or less?
Yep.
So last year, was it more?
Last year, it was pretty much identical. There wasn't really much fluctuation in that budget.
Is there anything we can do to increase that SCORE grant?
There is some history that we're looking into. I know Chris McCon is working on something also with the Auditor Treasurer's Office on some of that information, trying to get more of our tax base and a consistent level on some of the taxes that are going into properties and businesses.
I know in the past, we've always been late or had issues with getting our SCORE grant in. And I don't know if that's caused issues with us in our budget process, but I know that Chris has worked hard sometimes to help get the SCORE grant done. But I just think maybe there's a place we could try and increase our funding with the SCORE grant. You know, if we start raising fees, I get a little nervous about that because people are, you know, their budgets are pretty much right now
Correct.
staying pretty much level, if not decreasing. So if we start increasing fees, I get a little, I'm not very supportive of that,
Sure.
so. But I think if we got a grant and we think we can increase that, that's where we should work at.
Mhm.
So, I'm surprised at the revenue we're getting on our recyclables, which I think maybe is up.
Yeah, the amount that we're intaking has picked up. It's definitely, has been an increase the last 2 years from what I've seen, and it continues to grow. So that's good for our countywide, shows that people are interested in recycling. And I think once the new facility is established, I think it's only can continue to grow, because the ease of recycling for our customers is gonna improve.
I know it's a little scary, but I think we've always done this in passing the budget for this agency. It's always been a little bit,
Yep.
you know, not balanced properly, but I think you and Chris are doing some good planning and trying to increase our revenues. And I just suggest we stay away from increasing, you know, more fees.
Yep.
But sometimes that's not possible. But I think in the recyclables and the SCORE grant, that's where we should be looking to increase our fees. So-
Right. And in establishing the budget for the future load cell closure costs are now in place. So that's the biggest thing that really hurt this budget this year, is just, and we still don't know exactly what those numbers are. This is just a roughly estimated cost that we received from Winseth, who helps us with our landfill design, and a guesstimate on what it might cost us to move that dirt and material to cover that landfill.
So is that, what line is that on, or is that not even showing on here yet?
That would be under our capital expenditures.
Okay.
For the 800,000, that's why that went up so much.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
as far as that cap grant, we've been trying to get the state, that's the ones that take the money, and they only give us a small percentage back. And they put it in their general fund, and they spend it on other things, when it's supposed to be spent on solid waste. But, so we've been trying to get and last year, it was in the at the deadline, but the bill didn't get signed. So we're hoping to get in that again this year, where we get a bigger percentage of that money back.
I think that's the case, Gary, where the state takes our money and then
Well, they take it and then,
other means it doesn't help us on share funding.
yep,
The other thing is, in looking at this budget, you have capital expenditures, but I don't see any capital improvements on, what do we set aside for capital improvements? We have capital expenditures, but no capital improvements on our revenue side or setting aside for capital improvements. Is that what you're doing, is setting that 800,000 aside? Or is that being actually spent on capital improvements?
The 800,000 that's set aside, roughly our capital improvements is around 250,000. We just estimated the expenses for closing that cell is where they put that extra 600,000 or 750 is what, or the extra 550,000 in that amount. So
Mr. Chair, it's kind of like what we did with the facilities, sitting on the solid waste committee. We never put any money away for these cells, for either opening a new cell or closing the old cell. So that was the discussion we had in the committee, saying, hey, we gotta be proactive here, start putting money away, so we're not getting caught like we are right now. And that's where we're at today. We got caught. From now on, we're gonna start putting money away, so when these cells come up, when we gotta close them or open a new one up, we should have the funding there to do it. So,
we were very fortunate with the increase of the recycling that we had this year. I mean, we had a non-budgeted item that we discussed with the committee to build the landfill was $267,000, and we were able to pay that out of our income this year. So we were very fortunate that it worked out the way it was. So I mean, that was also money that was not set aside for that landfill purpose. So we are now ahead of that and have funds that are getting put away in there annually for that cost.
So, Randy, it's a good point, but where do you show in your budget that you're putting money away?
It's on a different line item.
Yeah.
This is just the basic ones. They have that big book like I show
Okay,
you guys.
so
that-
this is just
It would be on that line
categorizing
item.
the,
Right, it would be under that capital.
okay, so there is
Yeah, there is,
something
just
that
like we do
shows
at
if money's
Public
being
Works
put
or-
away, okay.
Yep.
And Mr. Chair, this is one of those, that landfill closure is one of those items that is still on that proposed list of ARPA.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more discussion? Okay, otherwise I would look for a motion for the 2023 solid waste budget.
So moved.
Motion by Kircher, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kneisel, excuse me. Any more discussion?
That was to approve the budget,
Ye-
Mr. Chair.
Okay, for approval. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The next action that we have before you today is our solid waste hauler license and permits for 2023. The background is the Todd County Solid Waste Ordinance requires businesses that collect and transport waste to obtain a hauler's license for their businesses and a permit each vehicle each year. The Solid Waste Department has received 8 license and permit applications for 2023. The options are to authorize solid waste to issue these license and permits, or do not authorize the issuance of the license and permits. It is our recommendation is to issue these license and permits to the following: Long Prairie Sanitary, City Sanitary, G&T Sanitation, Waste Management, Mathiasen, Borgman Disposal, Bob Lemire, and Alec Rubbish.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the solid waste hauler. Excuse me? No?
I wanted it scrolled up because I couldn't see the
Oh,
financial. It says revenue, so we really don't know what the dollar amount is there.
seen the board action for the authorization of the permits for the applicants as listed for 2023.
So moved.
Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kneisel. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And the last thing we have before you today is just an information item. It's just a brief transfer station project update. Basically, the last committee meeting that we had on November 30th, we reviewed some of the design information that we had gotten back from Stantec. We addressed some traffic patterns throughout the grounds, really tried to regulate our traffic pattern as much as we could to one-way traffic, keep safety in mind. We agreed upon use of a pit scale systems for our facility. We will have approximately 2 truck scales throughout that facility. Pit scale systems are basically in-ground, if that clarifies that a little bit, instead of using above-ground type systems. A lot more safer, easier to clean when we use snow was the major considerations there. We addressed the ease of use of our recycling capability is we're gonna order color-coded bins to simplify sorting for our residential customers, along with signage. Incorporate the use of bilingual signage, I think is something that we were very adamant about, just because of the use of the facility with our Hispanic population. The application for CAP grant reimbursements for MPCA is in motion, so we are in the process of receiving our first draw from our CAP grant system of roughly $121,000 of expenses that we've incurred so far. Most of those expenses have all been engineering and designing. We agreed upon the west entry road to the compost facility that goes up the hill is to regrade that and redesign it to 8% slope, and that is something that is required of our new permit when a facility opens, just to make that roadway safer, ease of use for our customers. We, as a committee, worked on reduction of the asphalt design in our parking lots to reduce cost. They designed that as an 8-inch thickness, and we don't really need it. It's just parking cars on there, so they reduced it to 4, so it was a considerable savings. We were able to reduce our storm drains by use of ditching in the sediment pond on the north side of the property. That'll save us roughly around $60,000 in extra cost. So that was a big plus for us. The last meeting that we had on December 6th, we met with the City of Long Prairie and our engineering team with the transfer station leachate treatment, which is our tipping floor waste that's going to be incurred when we have the new building put up. So that was more of an information meeting with the City of Long Prairie, so hopefully we're going to have them treat our waste. We will have roughly about 25,000 gallons of wastewater to be treated out of that facility once it opens. The biggest thing we're working on, it's much like you guys just discussed with Public Works. Currently, we're looking at capital equipment that was needed for the building is estimated around $800,000 to $850,000. The equipment lead times are 20 to 40 weeks on most of the stuff that we're seeing and budgeting for. The equipment list, we're gonna need a wheeled excavator, 3 walking floor semi-trailers, a day cab semi, forklift, a loader grapple for the current loader that we have, and an excavator scale system. At this time, the project, Stantec still believes that we are on schedule to hopefully release for bidding in February. So everything looks pretty good as far as that all goes. But the big thing again is just knowing and locking in cost of equipment and what our trade-in value is on some of the equipment we have now to trade in. We just don't know until we get that availability, because we'll continue to add hours on the equipment that we have to trade in. But that kind of gives you a good idea where we're at with our design on the new facility. Comments and questions?
Mr. Chair, I do have a couple. First of all, the scales that you've stated, has it been explored to shelter the scales or not?
We did discuss that. Mostly that's incurred with above ground scales. The below ground scales you don't really need to, because they are basically put into a concrete bunker. The nice thing with the newer facility and the bunker systems will all be tiled and drained into the wastewater, so at least it'll really cut down the maintenance, where the current scale system that is there in the facility now, there is no drain, so you have to go out there and sump pump it out and that type of thing, where the new ones will be completely tiled and drained out, so.
The other question I have, I think you said something about decreasing the depth of the pavement.
Yes.
And what's the weight of a full garbage truck coming in?
Roughly around 60 to 80,000 pounds, depends on which models we have.
And I guess I'll ask Lauren, if you're reducing from 8 to 4, you said?
But that is just in the car parking lot,
Oh,
for just the
So-
parking,
okay.
for vehicles, and that's.
So
type of-
coming in, what is the tar pavement thickness coming in for?
It's looking at 6 to 8 inches
Okay.
for, to haul 80,000 pounds.
Okay, that's my concern, because I was just,
The area where the trucks are turning, moving, backing in, that's concrete.
okay.
Need more than adequate.
I mean, I'm all for saving money,
Yep.
but in the long range, if you look at it, is it worth saving that when
Correct.
you have the tar being broke up by the heavy trucks? So, when you're in your parking lot now, there won't be anything that heavy, I'm assuming, driving around in the parking lot.
Nope, the only thing that'll be in there is residential cars.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you for the update. Very nice.
Thank you.
Planning and zoning. Good morning, Adam.
Good morning. First item this morning is Jesse Fabio's request for a conditional use permit. An application for conditional use permit was to establish a weekly consignment sales business on parcel 20-0038400 in Reynolds Township was received on September 16th. The application was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the December 1st Planning Commission hearing. The final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the CUP with the following conditions. The applicant must allow for on-site review by planning and zoning staff to ensure compliance. 2, consignment sales must be appropriately labeled with the seller's information. 3, parcels 20-0038400 and 20-0038800 must be combined together to provide for adequate parking. 4, customer parking should be limited to on-site parking only. There should be no parking within the road right-of-way nor on neighboring properties. 5, signage shall not be placed within the road right-of-way. And 6, the applicant must abide by all their applicable federal, state, and local standards. The option would be to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and grant the CUP with those proposed conditions, or deny the CUP. The recommendation would be to adopt the findings of the planning commission and grant the CUP with the proposed conditions.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the Jesse Fabio request for CUP. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Carried.
All right, next is Jordan and Brittany Coolman, request for a CUP, an application for a conditional use permit to establish a community solar energy system on parcel 0300-13300, was received on October 24th. It was reviewed by the planning commission during the December 1st meeting, and the recommendation from the planning commission was to grant the CUP with the following conditions. I have this goofed up.
Yeah. I was gonna
Yep,
say, is
that is copying into the wrong spot. I'll read the right conditions here. It's just two conditions. The applicant must obtain permitting and or licensing from additional government agencies as necessary, and the submission of an interconnection agreement with the electric service provider prior to issuance of a land use permit. The correct information is in the proceedings document on the next page.
I was kind of wondering what the Clay Pittman Earth thing had. to do
Yeah,
with it.
those got copied from the next one somehow. I also had a map included. Oh, that is
Yeah,
there. That's on the
map is
back
here.
page. Yep, the map is correct.
Okay.
So the CUP is for the solar, small solar.
Yes, I have the information that the request is correct. I just have the wrong conditions. The conditions related to it are what you see there on the screen, just those two that the planning commission had proposed.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Adam, how big of an area is this?
This is
It's only 2 panels.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember, 40 feet long, maybe. It's a small area in their yard. They have a 10-acre parcel there, and it's kind of towards the back, would be the northwest corner-ish of their parcel there. Yeah, about in the center, actually. You can see their 10-acre piece there. It's back behind a majority of the actual building site, but it's just 2 panels intended to be used for on-site energy production, but they're connected with the electric grid because they sell back what the excess is. So therefore, it has to be identified as a community solar energy system.
I think maybe a year ago or so, we had a discussion about
Yep.
trying to get some ordinances or so forth within the county, which we have
Yep.
not yet done, so we should work on that at
Yep,
some
I
point.
believe you guys got packets of stuff from neighboring counties and stuff, so you have that, which we have those saved if you need them reprinted or whatever, but that would certainly be a good idea to bring that back up.
more discussion?
Yeah, just one more question.
Go ahead.
Disposal. Landowner required, once they
Yep.
outlive their life expectancy, required to remove them?
Yeah, it wouldn't be at the expense of the county. They own them. They're buying them just the same. And there is statute and other information out there about proper disposal of these things, and it's being developed as we speak. It's becoming more of a hot button issue is disposal of these types of systems.
Would our solid waste take them?
I don't know that.
Well, I mean, if they're gonna push these things, we gotta
Right.
figure out.
Should that be a condition? Or it's up to the
I
landowner?
think they're recyclable though, so I
For
think
disposal?
they'd have to
I-
be disposed
I-
of in the landfill.
Right.
I don't think there's anything that's,
I would include, I mean, we can add an additional condition for disposal, but being that the first condition, well, that's a permitting and licensing, we could add just another blanket condition of, abide by other applicable standards, including disposal, just so it's a blanket condition covering everything, but calling out specifically disposal also. I think that would certainly be an appropriate condition.
Yep. Okay.
I think, Randy, when we were reviewing the ordinance, that's what we wanted to put in there was disposal, because
It's a big.
otherwise people just leave them.
Issue.
Yeah.
It's a good question, because I don't know if anybody's had to deal with that yet.
Yeah.
They're new enough yet that
Right.
hasn't
Adam,
been
are
an
you,
issue, but.
writing that condition for this one?
Yeah.
And then you'll send us new drafts?
Yeah, I'll update the whole thing. I'll update the board action and I'll update the proceedings so those things match.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
what would be with 3 conditions then instead of 2, Adam, correct?
Yeah, I'm just writing up a draft one here to for you
Yep.
guys to review.
All right, so you've seen the board action and the CUP request for Jordan and Brittany Coolman for a small solar energy system installation. Looking for a motion.
I'll move with the conditions.
Motion by Newman with conditions. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kircher. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, next, Arnold Greenis, request for CUP. An application for conditional use permit to expand an existing feedlot from 999 animal units to 1449 animal units on parcel 0300262000 was received on November 9th. This was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the December 1st Planning Commission hearing, and the final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the CUP with the following conditions. 1, conditions and approval of this application shall replace the conditions of permit number CUP 2022-016. All land application setbacks and Minnesota 7220 rules pertaining to storage and handling manure must be followed. 3, construction of clay-lined manure pit must be completed prior to stocking of open lots. Applicant must apply for and obtain NPDES permitting from the state of Minnesota prior to stocking of open lots. 5, applicant must obtain land use permits for new structures established on the site. 6, applicant must obtain additional permitting as required from other governmental agencies, including but not limited to the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, and the Sauk River Watershed District. And 7, that the applicant must abide by all other applicable federal, state, and local standards. The option B, to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and grant the CUP with the proposed conditions, or to deny the CUP. And the recommendation would be to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and grant the CUP with those proposed conditions.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the Arnold, and I'm pronunciation, Greenis?
Greenis, yep.
Greenis request for CUP. Looking for a motion.
So move.
Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Kneisel. Motion with conditions. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. We have a few board action forms here to present to you today. All annual contracts, we've had STEP and Northern Pines come in and do their annual updates. So now we have the contract prepared and looking for approval. So our first board action form is for STEP, the Purchase of Service and Host County Contract Renewal. Some background. STEP provides day training and rehabilitation and supportive employment services for clients with mental health and developmental disabilities. STEP receives referrals from Todd County and other counties to provide these services. Options: to approve the STEP purchase of service and host county contract renewal, or to not approve. It is our recommendation to approve, that you approve the STEP purchase for service and host county contract renewal.
You've seen the board action for the STEP purchase of service and host county contract renewal. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Kneisel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Jackie, I see Sourcewell is listed in, on the contract. What part do they play in the process?
So Sourcewell handles all of our contracts. That's part of the job that's shared across the region. So Danielle Wadsworth's the person that does that. They kind of work on the form and the contact. We play a bit of an intermediary with working with our providers on, if there's things we need to address as far as rates and some of that language, but otherwise Danielle works with kind of the standard form and function of the contract.
And that happens across Region 5, so with all of the 5 counties: Morrison, Todd, Wadena, Cass, and Crow Wing.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Becker, when I reviewed these contracts, I had the same question, and it ended up turning into a really fruitful discussion with Sourcewell about what they do, and it was a good education, so,
Okay. And you reviewed the contracts?
all of them, yes.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Thank you, great question. It was, it really, I think we've had Sourcewell for about, I want to say 5 years roughly.
we did that a long time
Looking at
ago.
contracts and really trying to streamline these contracts as we all operate similar within the 5 counties, but our contracts looked really different. So it's just a process to streamline that
Okay.
across the
Mr.
region.
Chair, I have a question to the county attorney. I sit on that board, so should I vote on these contracts or not? Okay, I'll abstain, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All right, we had a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Commissioner Kircher has elected to abstain. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
All right. In similar fashion, we'll move to Northern Pines, purchase of service agreement renewal. Some background, Northern Pines provides a variety of mental health services to eligible adults and children in Todd County. The services provided are detailed in the attached purchase of service agreements renewal. Our options are to approve the Northern Pines service agreement renewal or to not approve. It's our recommendation that we do approve the Northern Pines purchase of service agreement renewal.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the Northern Pines Purchase of Service Agreement Renewal. Looking for a motion.
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kneisel. Discussion.
I would presume it would be the same contract, so forth.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Carried.
All right. Next, we have the Home and Community-Based Waiver Services Contract between Thomas Allen Incorporated and Todd County Health and Human Services. This is an extension of the current contract. Some background, Todd County Health and Human Services has a need to contract with Thomas Allen Incorporated to provide contracted case management services as specified in a person's community support plan as authorized by the financially responsible agency. This contract may serve as a lead county contract for services purchased by other financially responsible agencies, including managed care organizations and tribes. Options to approve the extension of the current home and community-based waiver services contract between Thomas Allen Incorporated and Todd County Health and Human Services dated October 1st, 2022 through this year, December 31st, 2022, or to not approve. It's our recommendation that you do approve the extension of the current home and community-based waivered services contract between Thomas Allen and Todd County Health and Human Services between October of 2022 through the current year of December 2022.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the Home and Community-Based Waiver Services Contract between Thomas Allen Incorporated and Todd County Health and Human Services, an extension of a current contract. Looking for a motion.
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kircher. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
We'll move to the 2023 contract now. Home and Community-Based Waiver Services Contract between Thomas Allen Incorporated and Todd County Health and Human Services for the year 2023. Todd County Health and Human Services has a need a contract with Thomas Allen Incorporated to provide the contracted case management services as specified in a person's community support plan as authorized by the financially responsible agency. This contract may serve as a lead county contract for the services purchased by other financially responsible agencies, including managed care organizations and tribe. Your options are to approve the extension of the home and community-based waiver services contract between Thomas Allen Incorporated and Todd County Health and Human Services, January 1st, 2023 through the year of December 2023, or to not approve. It's our recommendation that you approve the extended current home and community-based waiver services contract between Thomas Allen and Todd County Health and Human Services for the year of 2023.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the home and community-based waiver services contract for the year of 2023 between Thomas Allen Incorporated and Todd County Health and Human Services. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kircher. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Great, thank you. Thank you, yeah. Our next board action form is related to the ARPA funds with the Community Health Funds update. We wanted to come back and just kind of share where we are at current date, as we said we would do that. Some background: on March 15, 2022, the County Board of Commissioners approved ARPA funding to subsidize the cost of home-delivered meals to ensure no county resident was put on a wait list for these meals. As requested at the board meeting, an update is now being provided. So we're going to do that as the best that we can with the numbers that LSS gave to us.
Good morning. So in March of 2022, we allocated $10,000 for this. So again, this was due to, unfortunately, there's a funding gap in the state nutrition budget and what's covered by Title III meals. So Title III meals is allowed for those who aren't on a waiver or private pay. So that's basically allows a sliding fee. So anyone who needs home delivered meals, congregate, or bundled frozen meals can be put on Title III. Unfortunately, LSS wasn't able to expand their Title III numbers, and so there was beginning to be a wait list. We had 2 to 3 residents on that wait list back in March who we were able to immediately take off because we were able to provide this funding. So they're calling it a grant from Todd County. So any resident who wants meals and isn't able to pay for them, this subsidizes that cost. Typically the cost of a meal is $9, so whatever they're able to pay. And so by the end of September, I don't have this current quarter, we had spent $2,646 of that $10,000. So assuming we continue at that same rate, I assume we'd be at about $4,000 by the end of the year, and that would allow us to have $6,000 in 2023. Our hope is at that point, Title III would change some of the way they fund things. At this point, Title III is in lots of different buckets. So there's congregate meals, there's home delivered, there's caregiver support, all these different buckets. And I think what they need to do is make sure they put more money into the home delivered bucket, because otherwise this is the issue. Congregate meals are down. That's been ever since COVID, and they don't know if those are going to rebound. A lot more people are homebound. So the hope is that by the end of 23, we're able to figure out a way to support this long term without ARPA funds. Questions?
If I may.
Questions? Sure.
Yeah, if they see us putting money into this, would that deter them from? I'd like to word it a little different how we do this so that they don't see that we're putting money into this. Because if they see that we are doing this, they'll say, well, we don't need to subsidize you because you've got the money and you're doing it. Now
So
we're
they
using
have
ARPA
called it
funds.
a grant specifically and
well-
said, even to those residents they put on, that this is limited. Because my concern, same thing, is that those people get put on, if these dollars go away, how are they going to? And so
Yeah.
they've said it's a limited time. Todd County has funding for this.
Limited
They
time.
also lobbied for this last year at the legislative session, and we all know what happened last
Yeah,
year.
nothing.
So they're hopeful this year that they're able to receive funding to be able to cover those costs or to be long-term.
Well, I would just assume that the numbers are gonna increase the way inflation is going and people and fuel costs and everything else. So I'm just saying, I know I'm not gonna be here, but I'd like to add more money to that, but put it in a worded different. You know, you're gonna be down to, if you continue the pace, you're gonna be down to 6,000 for next year, which will be, if it continues the same pace, be down to 2,000 for 24. I would like to see us put more money in that to support some of the low-income people that need their meals, but I don't know how the other board members feel. But
If I could, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
I guess I would be more in favor of putting whatever we need at the time we need it. Otherwise, if you get too big of a sum of money, it's gonna be like it's expected and not of an emergency, because we can add that to that anytime, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You could, but you might use up your ARPA funds before the,
I think that's what's gonna be coming in front of board shortly in the next few months, where we're at with ARPA dollars and expenses and
And
requests.
Mr. Chair, I got constituents, and I know, I believe they come into Commissioner Erickson's district too, that come out of Osakis. Okay, Osakis is Land of Dancing Sky, which is Douglas County, which, you know, and I've been involved in fundraising to help keep those meals coming out of Osakis to feed my constituents in Todd County. So, I mean, we wanna make sure that our elderly, get those meals, but what I'm told on some of those frozen meals, they're like $8-9 a piece, and there's a lot of elderly out there that can't afford that $8-9 a piece meal, so, you know, we just gotta keep working on this.
Right.
so if I could ask another question, not regarding this, is fuel assistance gonna be increasing, Jackie?
We haven't received any information regarding that yet, but I can anticipate that it probably will be.
Probably. Because it goes hand in hand, Randy. I mean, if you can't, you gotta either eat or pay your fuel costs, and if these people are struggling to do both and have to make a decision, it's, you know,
Yep.
that's where, you know, we should be
Usually
stepping in
heat.
and giving
Mhm,
assistance, so,
And it hasn't been all that warm,
no.
No.
so there's been utilization.
Any other questions? Any other part of your update? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Catherine.
Yeah.
Get a second. I need you to, while you're here. You took care of that for me last
All right, administration, good morning.
Good morning, Board Chair Erickson and Commissioners. Today's topic is appointments to the Todd County Personnel Board of Appeals. The background being the Todd County Board of Commissioners are seeking applicants for the appointment to the Personnel Board of Appeals. The positions have been advertised in county newspapers, and applicants have been interviewed by the Board of Commissioners at the work session on December 9th, 2022. Your options are to appoint Steve Beck and Dan Hughes to the Todd County Personnel Board of Appeals, or do not appoint these candidates, with the recommendation being to appoint Steve Beck and Dan Hughes to the Todd County Personnel Board of Appeals.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the appointment of the Todd County Personnel Board of Appeals. 2 members, we met them both, got to do a small interview with them and whatnot, looking for a motion.
So move.
Motion by Becker, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Hands of Hope Resource Center, lease renewal.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I have that board action this morning, and it's a board action for Hands of Hope Resource Center lease renewal. The background for this is the lease agreement with Hands of Hope Resource Center for 2022 is set to expire on December 31st of 2022. The Hands of Hope Resource Center has expressed interest in renewing the lease agreement for 2023 for the space utilized in the Main Street Government Center with a 2% increase to the rental fee terms. And the options are to renew the Hands of Hope Resource Center lease agreement as presented for January 1, 2023 through December 31st, 2023. Number 2, do not renew the Hands of Hope lease agreement as presented. Or number 3, to renew with different terms. And the recommendation is to renew that agreement for January 1, 2023 through December 31st of 2023. And the lease agreement is attached and has been reviewed by the county attorney.
Thank you. See the board action for the Hands of Hope Resource Center lease renewal. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Kneisel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion.
Mr. Chair, if I could just add, this 2% increase has followed what we've done with other lease agreements within the county, and Hands of Hope has agreed with that.
Okay. Any other discussion, comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Standing reports, Auditor Treasurer.
I was able to locate that information on the consent items that you were looking for. It is a David Yoder in Germania Township with an address of 18451 430th Street, if that means anything to you guys. That's,
I think we should have more discussion maybe on it.
and our office does not handle the tobacco licenses. That's done in
That's
the
done
Health and
through
Human
Health and Human
Service Department.
Services, isn't it?
So all they did is just send us the board action, just listing the entities, and we don't see the applications. I just happened to have my chief do some research while we were in meeting, and she messaged me saying that's what it was. So I have not my thing, I don't know what to tell you on it.
I think we okayed it just
Yes,
with
we did approve it.
clarification for location.
Yeah. I think maybe we should have a conversation with John after the meeting for more clarification on that.
Okay, well, that's the information I have
Okay.
on that.
Thank
Okay.
you.
And then for my other report, I just have finishing up pre-audit information with the auditors. They were not on site last week due to the weather, but we're wrapping things up with them, and also a lot of year-end reporting getting done in our office, so that's it, that's all I have.
Thank you. County Attorney?
We are still busy, but we are handling the continued increase in criminal cases without any trouble at all. We had 8 new in custodies, for example, yesterday. I don't know if this is the appropriate time or method, but I do want to thank the outgoing commissioners for their service and personally for their support over the past few months. Thank you again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for
Commissioner-
attending our meetings. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's very nice. Commissioners' reports. Commissioner Kneisel?
Guess I don't have nothing.
You have nothing new at this point?
Been nice knowing you.
Hey, you got one more meeting.
I was gonna say, everybody's saying their goodbyes, but I think you
We'll
gotta
break
show
out
up one more
tears now
time
here.
yet.
I gotta
so-
come on one more
You
time?
gotta come one more time yet. You just be here.
When is that?
Tuesday next week, we have our final year end to pay up the bills.
Write that down so you don't forget it.
Well, I know my daughter-in-law want me to babysit the hurricane, but
There you go.
I might be able to get out of that then. She's a little
27th
wild.
of December, we have our one last final board
Okay.
meeting of the year.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I had the pleasure yesterday of listening to the county attorney on the radio. It was the first time I've heard the county attorney on the radio, so thank you, John, for doing that. Appreciate that. I just want to personally thank the commissioners, department head, staff for the floral arrangement and plant for my mother-in-law and dad's funerals, and all the cards and everything everybody sent. So just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, so. I appreciate that, and then I will give my committee report on the 27th.
Sounds good. Commissioner Becker?
Yes, I attended the Truth and Taxation, and then on the 13th, I had extension meeting. On the 16th, we had a regional EMS meeting, and it's finding of facts, and I'll bring this up in the new year also. But with some of the state regulations have changed where the funding for our regional EMS has cut away to be able to use the funding for our director in the current funding relief. They changed some wording in it, and so we will be running short of funds. And this is something that we've been working on for the last several years, was funding our EMS and other means. Otherwise, it'll come back to having the county having to fund it, so we'll have more discussion on that at a later date.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Kircher?
I don't have anything, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to say it's been an honor and pleasure to serve this county for 52 years. And I don't know what I'm gonna do on Tuesdays, but I guess I'll just have to find something to do.
You probably just tune in and listen.
Well, I'm not gonna tune in and listen, but probably read about you in the paper maybe. But I just wanna say it's been a pleasure serving with all of you guys and an honor. So after the next board meeting will be my last one, and I think 52 years is enough, and it's time to retire, so.
Thank you. Coordinators report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of updates on some things that have been attended since our last meeting. I too had the TNT meeting attendance on the December 12th. On December 14th, we had department head meeting. We had a brief personnel committee meeting, an AMC cybersecurity task force meeting that I attended. On the 15th, a MACA regional administrators meeting, a CPT software committee meeting, Todd County Storm Recovery Group, and on the 19th, we had just an internal meeting with an outside party. And so that's the report that I have. And just for the next board meeting for next Tuesday, we will have just a very short reception after the board meeting for our departing commissioners. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. And with that, I think we will recess until January 27th. December 27th. Yeah, we don't want to wait till January.
Gary, you almost got out of it.
Yeah. I'll get that straight. There's work session to order, and today's date, Tuesday, December 20th, 2022, time 11 a.m. And first on the list is the 2022 violation assessment update from Adam.
Okay, these are all the same sites that we reviewed back in October, but following our normal procedure, we bring these to a work session prior to that last meeting of the year where you have the opportunity to take the assessment way going into the next year. So I'll just work through these pretty quick because there's not a lot of updates. Tim Forcier is the first one. This has been on for a few years now. We have not had any contact with Tim at all, and I actually drove by there last week, and it seems like there was more stuff piled up front than what you even see in the pictures there. So it's kind of been a back and forth, but we haven't had any contact or any opportunity to work with him on that one. If you scroll to, I don't have page numbers on mine. There you go, Tim Wagner. If you recall back, this one, I forget who the previous owner was, but Tim actually bought this property earlier this year, and didn't realize that it was in sort of some assessment process, but he was working on cleaning it up already anyway. So we actually met with Tim out there last week and documented some of the progress that he's made and talked with him about some of his future plans, and he has some plans to continue to clean up. He said he has 2 days off each week, and he goes out there and works away at it each week, and they have long-term plans of building a home out there, so it's important to them to get it cleaned up also. So this particular one, when we come back next week, my recommendation would be that we remove that assessment and allow him the opportunity to continue to clean this up as he had started doing.
Who was the previous owner, do you know?
I don't, I could tell you here maybe. I don't recall offhand.
Okay.
Just a question, if I may, Mr. Chair. John, if we're doing these assessments, this guy bought this property not knowing we were putting assessments against the property. How can we get those recorded? So when there's a transaction of a sale,
I would encourage that.
how could we go about that?
They become public record because when you certify them next week, then Adam will get me the list. I place it on the tax statement. So anybody buying or selling has to do a title search.
They
They'll
should.
see, or they should.
They should.
They would see, oh, there's a special assessment coded, whatever number.
Yes.
They usually end up calling our office. We tell them what the code is. We tell them what the assessment is.
Okay. I just want to make sure because obviously this buyer got caught up by surprise. So I think it's just good PR that we do some kind of recording to show, and it is, I hope so. But I don't know if it's, if I was gonna buy the property and went out there and looked at it, I'd say, well, holy cow, I'm gonna buy this. So, but the assessment is paid by the previous owner?
That's a agreement between buyer and seller. We don't get
And I
involved.
think that that's potentially where the new owner wasn't aware of it, is the previous owner had just been paying it, but not taking care of the issue.
So he wouldn't even known about it then?
Right, and that's where when you buy a property in violation, you buy the violation. So we sent the notices to that new owner, and he right away got in touch with us, and he was already working on it, which is awesome. So we met with Tim and talked with him for quite a while, and he showed us some of the progress he's made, and we documented that, and we'll continue to do the same.
I just want to protect the buyer here, it's just kind of.
Right. Yeah. Okay, moving along here. I believe the next one.
Am I there
Yeah,
yet?
you keep going one more page maybe. There we go.
Okay.
This is the David Larson property. Update on this one is that I was notified from the sheriff's office that David actually passed away back on November 6th. We were having issues getting our normal notices to him and didn't understand why. So for these couple facts, I think that the correct move here is to remove this assessment for 2023 because of the fact that David is no longer around, but also we weren't even able to follow our normal noticing procedure for these violations. So I think there is potential issue with that. And it also maybe just sets us up to allow us to work with whoever that new landowner is. But I think for those couple reasons, my recommendation would be that we remove this assessment going into 2023.
John, would this go into probate? Because both are deceased, I believe.
It could. I don't know if there's a medical assistance claim.
I would think there is.
If these are the people I'm thinking of, didn't they end up in Wadena? Both of
We
them?
worked with them too on confession and judgment, and so they have a long history with our office.
Okay, okay.
Trying to make payments on their taxes.
So yeah, this might be a probate that the county
He went to some
initiates.
nursing home, I don't know where.
Okay.
And we were able to get in touch with him at that nursing home, and I've talked with him since then. But I think as the transition, as things, you know, his health declined, he was moving around, and we just weren't able to get the notices to him. Okay, no other questions? We can scroll down a little bit.
Trying to get through the pictures, sorry about
Yep.
that.
The Jeffrey and Christine Coleman, again, no update on this. Heard nothing from the landowners, nothing's changed. I would say that the recommendation would be to keep the assessment for 2023. And this one's William and Marcia Owen. Again, the only contact we had with them was a couple years ago, and it seemed like they were trying to make a claim that they hauled a bunch of garbage out, but it only continued to get worse. And since then, we've had no contact with them. I'd recommend to keep the assessment in place. Same story here, Harold Harcum and Arlene Cameron. We've never had any contact with these landowners. The only thing that's happened since the update in October was that we received another complaint about the property. So I'd recommend we continue with the assessment process on that one. Here's the Mary Ann and Steve Gerving. We had some contact with them about a year and a half, 2 years ago. I think in the update in October, they had just taken all the garbage and pushed it into a garage, but there's no garage doors. They didn't haul any of it out. A lot of those same nuisance characteristics still exist. We haven't had any contact with them. The only update is that we have received a couple phone calls from interested buyers, but nothing's been done, so, and they still own it. I'd recommend to keep the assessment in place. And lastly is the Linda Jean Hansen. We still have not had any contact with them and can't seem to make any progress with getting that one resolved. And then just two new ones for 2022, Gideon and Ella Schwartzentruber in October, or sorry, it would have been September work session, but then October we assessed it. We did meet with them and discussed some options for resolution and left some information and mailed a bunch of stuff to them. So that would have been back September, early October, and we haven't heard a thing from them since. And again, this one is for unpermitted structures, and sewage treatment. They don't have holding tanks or anything for a new house that they built also. And the last one is the Marvin Drina site outside of Browerville. Talked with him a couple times over the summer, met with him a couple times, even brought Mike from Solid Waste with to talk about options of disposal and cleaning it up. And since then, haven't heard anything from Marvin about the cleanup process.
Still have to change, it's District 4, not
District 4,
District 1.
yeah, that's right, I recall that now. Okay, District 4, the parcel number and stuff is correct, but I haven't heard anything from Marvin. We go by there, you know, it's on the intersection of two county roads, and there seems to be nothing but more stuff getting piled up. So I'd recommend still moving forward with the new assessments on those two also. I didn't print this for you guys this time because there wasn't a lot of new information from earlier this year, but I have it in a PDF form. If you'd like it sent via email to look through, I'd be glad to do that. Otherwise, I'd be glad to answer any questions you have today. Otherwise, these will come back next week, Tuesday, for the form, place the final stamp on it, I guess.
This, Drano one that I have up, that abuts this river here?
Yes.
So is there any, like, higher authorities that are involved in this? Like DNR, I mean, I'm just saying.
Right. There could potentially be. I haven't ventured down that road. I think it's pretty obviously a violation of the planning and zoning ordinance. I don't know if public health has looked at this one, but that's why I got Mike involved too, because of the solid waste issue with disposal. There's that burnt down house there that's been dismantled but never cleaned up. There's a list of things that need to be cleaned up. And in addition to just the public nuisance aspect, he had a conditional use permit to operate like an salvage repair shop thing out there. And because of his lack of meeting those conditions, the board rescinded that CUP, but he continues to operate the business without the conditional use permitting he needs. So there's another level of things there to address. Any other questions?
So have we added any more to this list?
Any more to the list for this year?
We had a couple.
No?
Oh, yeah, just those two, the Schwarzentroober and, sorry, Drina one, were new for 2022. I mean, our whole violation list is significantly longer than what this is, but those were the only two added for 2022.
So the violation list, did you guys send any letters out to any individuals that, because I had a older couple at our Thanksgiving dinner, community Thanksgiving dinner, and she started crying and said she got a letter from the county saying that they needed to clean their yard up. And it's like, I drive by their yard all the time, and I said, your yard's not bad at all. I said, why would you get a letter?
I'd have to know the specific location and look at what our letters consist of to know what we sent them. Sometimes it's pretty simple to clean stuff up. Maybe it was, yeah, I guess I don't know the scenario to answer the question. But if we get a complaint, regardless, we always follow up on it. And if there's characteristics of public nuisance or whatever the violation is, we will send notices of that right away, because we're required to follow up.
I'll email you the name and address.
Yeah,
and
yep, sounds good.
Any other questions for Adam at this point? Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you. Board meeting schedule discussion.
All right, I will be bringing a number of items up just that we go through and review for your end so that you're ready for 2023. This is the commissioner meeting dates. This is the submission deadline that they need to be in my office by 3 o'clock so that we can prepare it. Our only concern moving forward is, as you see, we highlighted this July 4th. It lands on a Tuesday, which is a holiday. So when preparing this at the next meeting, we'll have to have you as board members pick a different day for that week. And then it looks like the AMC conference on December 5th. That's the other one that we highlighted these two because those are flagged as potential conflicts because of our timing, our meetings you're attending, or just calendar holiday. So just putting that out there so you see that. If you want me to just keep rolling? into my
Yeah,
next
unless,
topics,
if
or
somebody
what?
has questions or comments, they can certainly jump in.
And we'll just have to change those two dates.
Yep, when we actually
at the
are
next meeting,
yep,
yeah.
We'll bring them forth, and so you're thinking that, you know, ahead. That's why we're showing you all this
Yep.
stuff to be prepared. The July 4th lands on a Tuesday, and then December 5th is that AMC conference. So those are two that we will have to note to change. And then moving on with my items, I have the 2022 Todd County Commissioner Committee assignments. In a wonky, Chris, can you?
Slide it over on the bottom,
Oh,
please?
sure, there we go, thank you.
And
And-
size it down a bit.
That's a good idea. Am I going down? There we go. So, this is another, I printed you a hard copy so you can look at it. These are the assignments that you had this previous year. And then moving forward, where you would like to, if you're staying on the committees you're staying on, if you're moving. And the reason I bring this up is because we do have two going out and two coming in. So these are committee assignments that you should be reviewing and figuring out if you're staying on them or leaving. Guess I don't have any say on this, you guys do it.
This again will be discussed at the next meeting, is that correct?
This is just being presented at the work session today so you can analyze.
At the next meeting,
This will,
January meeting.
January,
3rd.
yeah.
Yeah, then, that's, I mean,
The first meeting of the month, we go through
Yep.
board protocol, assignment dates, yep, that first January one.
Okay.
We'll bring all this.
all right.
I was just going to ask, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, when you look at these committee assignments and the potential for some change and with some new commissioners coming on board beginning of the year, if we could really kind of nail down that schedule of dates that you meet or days of the week that you meet, it might be helpful if there's some moving that might take place, so you kind of know, like, is it once a month and the third Tuesday or the fourth, whatever. It might be helpful for everybody to know that. So I'd like to collect those from you when you have time to correct anything that I might have incorrect.
On this here one that you handed out, the meeting in Perham, we meet the fourth Wednesdays. It says here the third Wednesday.
Okay, thank you. And you, if you find things that are incorrect, if you just want to
Mark up those
yeah.
papers for Chris
Yep.
so that she can get it organized. Just actually write it on that paper so she knows. So this is, like I said, just the committee that we have. Study them, analyze them, figure out, work with Chris and I to find out what, like she said, what dates and times work for you. The next one I would have is the resolution establishing, which when we do this in January, will be the 2023 Board of Commissioners Board Protocol. I have nothing on this to change. You can analyze this too and look through it, see if there's anything that needs updating, or, but it just talks about, you know, the board rules to pass a resolution, designating the board chair and vice chair, when our regular meetings are, when we hold special meetings, the presiding officer and roll call situation, the minutes that we take, order of business and how it goes and how we make the agenda. When our meeting dates are, consent items, just kind of, just to review it so you know. If you see anything changing on there or we have it incorrect, please let us know. And these, like I said, will be brought up at the first meeting in January to vote on. Questions, comments? Like Chris said, she handed out that sheet of when your times are, so get that back to her if we have anything wrong on those. Because her and I are gonna work together to get this organized for that January. Otherwise, that's all I have.